Live. Here we go. We're waiting on Alan. By the way, for anybody that's on now, we're waiting on Alan. Got a couple minutes late start. Is everybody officially off work today? By the way, drop in the chat and tell me. Because our schedules are so different. We don't have traditional days off and on. We're just kind of always on. So is everybody off today or traveling today? I would assume maybe. I'm with the fam at the beach, by the way, so I'm out on the patio. Our family goes to the beach. It's honestly just a good time to get away for a minute.
My bad, guys.
There he is. It's cool. It's cool. We're live now. We just went in and went live. Are you good? Internet connection? There you are.
Yeah, we should be okay.
Is he laggy, Zach? Is he there?
I'm not getting a lag on my end.
Hold on. Hold on it. What are we doing here?
Got that cold Wi-Fi. Oh, love it. Chat, go ahead while Justin's kind of working through some things. What do you guys want to hear with today? What do you want to talk about? I know we're talking coaching search. Who do you want to hear about first? Starlink for the win? Yeah, on the road back for sure, man. Okay, I think Justin just had to leave us temporarily. He's going to try to jump back in as best he can. Well, I mean, I see a lot of comments about John Sumrall, absolutely a candidate, the leading candidate in my opinion. I mean, obviously, I think we're all cognizant of the fact that he's not the only person, but all of my info more or less points towards him being the guy at this point. Justin, are you back in? Do you have a lag still?
No, we'll see. I'm out here and I'm on my hotspot, and then it wants to pop me over the Wi-Fi, which is sketchy. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. I picked exactly what I want, which is my hotspot. And they're like, no, we're going to shove you back on this crappy Wi-Fi. So and I'm like, hotspot. And it's like, no, we're putting you on this crappy Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it does it again. If it pops off, I'll try to watch it. But yeah, it just wants to shove me back on. I don't want any part of it.
So I think most of the questions at this point are John Sumrall and where does he stand with Auburn by comparison to Ole Miss? How are you feeling about things?
Yeah. And any questions that come in, I'll bring up comments. Zach, feel free to pop them in there as we go. If there's questions as we go. Let's start coaching search. That's probably what most people want to talk about. And I don't know. I just thought it'd be good to come on here and just chat about some of these scenarios because I've tried to post what I know on the board, and I think I've done a pretty good job of it. But honestly, I have a decent amount of intel, but it still doesn't give me the full picture. I mean, I can say that. So I think a lot of people that are out here posting and saying they kind of have everything figured out. Mm-hmm. I don't believe you. And I think I think either there's just a lack of accountability where you can just go out and just say you've got it figured out, or I don't know, or what, because I just think there's still moving pieces to some degree. So I don't know the Sumrall stuff. Let's start here. Do you think, or do you have any reason to believe that John Sumrall is a quote done deal?
No.
I agree.
Do I think that it is heavily trending towards him being the main candidate or the possible next head coach at Auburn? Yes. I think it is still definitely trending John Sumrall, but is there anything that's done, set in stone? No. Not to my understanding, and I have asked people that would know. I would think, or it would be more, they are in the know to a degree, and they don't believe that there is a deal that is 100% completely done yet.
Well, I can just tell you, like, unless John Sumrall's lying, nothing's done, and he's signed nothing. So understand that, like, it's not, it's a lot of the stuff I've posted is from the Auburn side, it's from the industry side. He has not signed anything, to my knowledge. So nothing's done. I think I would sort of stand by what I said on Sunday, which is I consider him the favorite. Nothing's done. Durkin still believes he has a chance. I think all those things are true. There's just a lot we don't know. Is Sumrall still a possibility at Florida and Ole Miss? I would say yes. I'm not saying that he will end up there. I'm not saying he prefers any particular spot over Auburn. I know that he's still talking to those places, and he is still asking people their thoughts on those two places. So, like, clearly he's weighing some options. He could still have Auburn at the top of his list. He could still be, leaning towards taking the Auburn job. He could have told John Cohen, hey, man, everything sounds pretty good about what we've talked about. Unless something changes, I think I'm going to be your guy. That could be the nature of some of their stuff. But again, until something's signed, then it's not finished. The Ole Miss thing's an interesting thing. We've talked about that for a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Now, and I would tell you on my end, Justin, that I have definitely heard more Ole Miss than Florida. Florida feels like, I don't know. I'm sure there's dialogue still there. I'm just not hearing enough of it to feel like there's somebody that legitimately where he's going to land at this point. I feel like it's Auburn or Ole Miss for me as far as John Sumrall is concerned, or at least that's where my information lies. Now, I'm not saying, again, I think what you're trying to do is provide a full picture and that Florida is an option for him, but I don't know how much of an option it is right now as far as from where he is in a decision standpoint. I think probably the two chief contenders are Auburn and Ole Miss, but I could be wrong. I mean, he could end
up. I agree with that. I haven't heard a lot out of Florida in terms of where he stands on their board. Mm-hmm. I just know that they're staying in touch with him, and I know that he's still sort of kicking it around. So, that's all I can really go off of.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. What else? I'd rather honestly, if we could just add questions in, Zach, anything that we see, just pop them in, or I can search through here the comments. We could just start asking. We could just start going. Do y'all think we get an announcement on Sunday or Monday? I would say yes, only because it's been Cohen's mission all along. I asked somebody on the Auburn side this past Sunday, and they said what I posted on Sunday night, which was the timeline for an announcement remains consistent with what he said all along. I don't have any reason to think that's changed. So one way or another, I'm still kind of banking on Sunday or Monday, whether that's John Sumrall, whether that's retaining DJ Durkin. That's easy. I mean, that for sure would guarantee it. And even if it's a third option, I think an announcement right then makes sense. Could there be a complication? I guess, sure. I'm not in the building. I don't know exactly what it would be, but I don't ever rule stuff out. But if you made me put money on it, I would say that something is still probably coming one of those 2 days.
I would agree, and I think my thought was before yesterday that they might wait, if it is John Sumrall, in fact, that they're going to land on, that they might wait until Tulane's conference championship was over. But after seeing Eric Morris being announced to Oklahoma State yesterday, I wonder how much of a consideration that even is. I mean, I think Auburn would just say, hey, it's okay. Coach the championship game. We're going to go ahead and announce you at this point as the head coach. We'll have your press conference at a later date. Just to kind of go ahead and get things moving forward. It seems everything in the industry is expedited right now due to where you are on the portal landscape as far as, the amount of time you have to speak with players before they're able to enter the portal and everything else. And I think things are just sped up to the point that you're not going to wait anymore. Now, if it's a different candidate, and I don't anticipate that it is at this point. I mean, I think we're down, or not, I don't want to say that because you're boxing yourself in, but it feels very much we're in the world of John Sumrall, DJ Durkin, and maybe there's the possibility of, Eli Drinkowitz, or maybe there's somebody else that John, or maybe a Clark Lee, maybe something like that were to take place. But I just don't know where we are in that world. Justin, where are you at on other candidates beyond Durkin and Sumrall?
I was always sort of Drinkowitz or Clark Lee. It looks like Golish is going to go to Arkansas. We've kind of thought that. Golish was Arkansas and Oklahoma State were the hot names for him. I've just heard nothing really substantial other than, I think the last update I had on Drinkowitz was about a week. What was it? It was the bye week. I posted on Sunday night that Cohen and Drinkowitz talked that weekend. And I couldn't confirm. That could have even been in person. I couldn't confirm that, though. But they communicated and spoke that the bye weekend. That was probably – and then right after that, leading into Mercer's when things got quiet. So, that week he met with Clark Lee.
Yep.
He met with John Sumrall. He talked to Drink that weekend, maybe even met with him. Like, those were the last coaches that, before everything went quiet, that were getting additional attention from John Sumrall, So that's why I would sort of lean Drinkwitz or Clark Lee. Clark Lee obviously didn't go anywhere, so he's right there. Drinkwitz is getting tossed around at Florida. Don't know where he stands on their board. I don't know that he's super high. So I kind of think you're in a situation where they're all options. I don't know if there's a scenario where you can't make an announcement Sunday or Monday. I mean, if how sort of logistically this would work if you started to have to go down the list, I'm not sure. I just think if those are kind of if there's some other candidate then nobody in the not just me, nobody in the industry is even really hinting at it. If there's some secret candidate, then they have done a phenomenal job of keeping it under wraps because I've asked other people that aren't Auburn stuff. So, but anyway, all that to say, if it's sort of the four we're talking about, I don't know that I see a complication. As far as Charles's question, which is kind of goes to what we're talking about, would they wait on John Sumrall if they make the playoff? That's something that's been interesting to me. I think you can make the announcement. Let's just pretend it's Sumrall. Mm-hmm. I think you can make the announcement. And I don't know. Here's what I'll say. I've talked to a handful of boosters, prominent boosters, guys that give money, guys that are involved, that would not be happy if Auburn hired John Sumrall and then said, all right, now go finish your season. For the next however many weeks, go do your thing at Tulane. That isn't going to sit well with people that are trying to retain a roster and give money, and they're watching the university pay him X millions of dollars and then say, all right, now go do your thing for the next 3 weeks. That's not going to sit well. However, I think the Sumrall side of things is he wants to coach his team.
Yeah.
And so I don't honestly know how that plays out. I could see him coaching the championship game, right? Because they could lose and then there's no playoff. Right. And so maybe that's an out for Cohen. If he hired him and said, well, I didn't know he was going to win his championship game. I can't yank him now. And, maybe there's sort of a little bit of a way for him to deflect a little bit. It's hard to swallow. I get both sides. It's hard to swallow asking a coach to say, hey, we're going to need you to kind of leave your team and let them go do the playoffs without you. But man, I get Auburn's. If you're Auburn, we're hiring you for a job. Portal's open right now. We got a roster to retain right now. And sorry, man, like we're your employer. Like we're more important. I get that side of it too. So
yeah, it's a really tough spot because guys work their whole lives to get to this point, right? To have an opportunity to coach on a stage like the playoffs. And again, it's business on Auburn's end because you do have a situation where you have a very desirable roster and a lot of pieces on that are being tampered with right now. I mean, it is full blown pre-portal, people reaching out to, their agents to see what the prospect is of them entering the transfer portal and what it would take, monetarily speaking, to entice them to go ahead and make that move. So there's a lot at stake for both ends, and I get it. And I don't know how you resolve that other than maybe there is a medium you can walk where you're basically working from afar while you're with Tulane and trying to do the back and forth thing and also prepare your team for the playoffs. And Auburn will get a lot of free, good publicity for this, for John Sumrall's team to be in the playoff and him to be coaching that. And that's the next head coach, if that's who they choose to hire. But again, while I would say he's the leading candidate or the person I've heard the most of and that my information trends towards, I'm not saying that it's a done deal at this point. I know there are people that have said that, and I can't get there.
It's not a done deal at this point. Yeah. I strongly believe that it is not a done deal at this point. I've said it. I would go there. Anybody saying that this is a done deal right now, I don't believe that's the case at all.
No, I mean, dude, I'm with you. I can't. That's too strong for me. And again, I'm on board with heavily negotiated with, deep talks with, leading candidate, all of that. I can get to that.
That's true. Yeah.
But I can't get to the point where we've got a signed contract and we're just waiting to formally announce it.
Listen, I can tell you, unless there's either two things. I can tell you Sumrall has told people this week he has not signed anything. So either he's lying or he hasn't signed anything. I don't have a reason to believe he'd lie intentionally. Just he didn't have to say it. Like nobody was pressuring him. Like, have you signed or not? Like, it's like he had to lie. And so I don't think that in this case he's lying about that.
If you want to go back to another one, yeah.
Yeah, the question about does he prefer Ole Miss? I answered that question last week on our board, and basically my comment to the reports that he quote unquote prefers Ole Miss is I have no evidence to say that he quote unquote prefers Auburn over Ole Miss or Ole Miss over Auburn. Like there's not like a specific piece of information where he has said I prefer Auburn. I like Auburn because of this over Ole Miss or vice versa. I don't. So I really don't have anything to add to what they've said about him preferring Ole Miss. All I've said is, and I said this early on because I wanted to get out in front of it about this Ole Miss situation. It was like 2 weeks ago when I brought that up. I was like, listen, let's just talk about this because it's a real thing. He absolutely likes Ole Miss. They are communicating with him, telling him you're going to be one of our first calls, if not your first call. They were talking money with him like a week and a half ago, man. Before the Lane stuff even really escalated, they knew it was a possibility, and they were already kicking around potentially what they might offer him. I mean, yeah, that's been there. That's why I went ahead and put it on the board. Like, let's just talk about this because the longer this goes on without Auburn locking him up, then the Ole Miss thing and the Lane Kiffin thing escalates, and now there's and I think if you're John Sumrall right now, I think John Sumrall feels like he's got the Auburn job if he wants it. I think he's saying Florida doesn't have a guy. They're kind of still tinkering with me. I think he's saying Ole Miss probably going to lose Lane Kiffin, and they want me. So, if you're John Sumrall, unless somebody's got a gun to your head, why would you? Why not just let sort of this week play out? Now, a decision's got to be made, but why not let a little bit of time go and kind of keep talking to Cohen and about, all that stuff? And if you want to field a call from Scott Strickland, you can field a call. If you want to field a call from Keith Carter, you can field that call. But kind of why not? And until John Cohen goes, hey, I need your answer, actually. Are you ready to sign? Are we doing this, or do I need to move on? And from my understanding, that hasn't happened. They've had lots of conversations about assistants and how much do you need for your assistants, and all that stuff's happened. But I sort of understand Sumrall kind of letting it flow a little bit. And clearly, Auburn thinks they're in good position because they're not pressuring him for a decision. So I think probably there has been some type of soft agreement, like, hey, I'm probably your guy. Let me just sort of let's do our due diligence here, but I'm probably your guy. I think some of that verbiage and language has potentially been said, but again, nothing done.
No, nothing's done, and I think timeline-wise, at least what I've heard on my end, and I don't want to put you on spots if you don't feel comfortable answering this, don't. But that Auburn is comfortable not having a decision from John until Friday or Saturday. That was kind of what I was told is end of the week they needed a decision, but there was no mandate before that as far as what they needed from him as an indicator.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
I don't know about the Buster Faulkner stuff. Honestly, man, I'm just sort of, we're football, basketball, head coach, where they go for OC and stuff. Sure, that's been tossed out there. I would for sure say that there's validity to him being a candidate. He's a good OC. So, yeah. I mean, look, all the staff stuff, if someone right now is thinking about the job, he's already thinking about the staff. So is DJ Durkin. So is whatever. Drinkwitz and League have their staffs, I guess, and Sumrall's guys. All those guys, you've got your staff, kind of who's out there. All that stuff is being discussed behind the scenes, and you probably are reaching out to guys and go, hey, I don't know what I'm going to do, but let's just, if I were to take the Auburn job, what do you think? That stuff's probably, those guys are talking and stuff. Those conversations are happening. So
for sure.
In terms of, is a staff put together, or is there progress on potential staff? Oh yeah, no doubt. They're not going to hire a coach Sunday and then go, all right, now let's think about who we might want. That's already happening. That's already happening.
No,
So.
And most candidates have a book put together when they go in for their interview, and they say, essentially, these are guys that are on a list for me, right? That I know that I can hire. And they have 3-4 candidates at OC and 3-4 candidates at DC and various position coaches listed within. They carry in a full plan and a scope of what a constructed staff could look like. So I would think Buster Faulkner is a name that is certainly probably in John Sumrall's book. Jesus, maybe not the only name. I think there are probably other candidates that are being vetted in addition to Buster Faulkner.
If Sumrall goes to Ole Miss, Florida, is 100% Durkin's job. Yeah, we can talk about Durkin a little bit. I would say I would lean yes. Listen, again, with this stuff, I'm not going to sit here and go out and just tell you. But I would lean yes. From the beginning, we've said that Durkin is going to be right there. Durkin is still operating right now like he has got a chance to get the job. We also know John Cohen's comments about, I love him as a DC. And he'd kind of have to convince me on, if he's the head coach, would we lose out on anything on defense? But I would lean, there's a lot of booster support there. There's a lot of, we can retain the roster if you keep Durkin. And so I would lean saying, yeah, which if Durkin's your second option, there really isn't a third option. We think Durkin's going to say no. So if we think Durkin is option 2, then it might not matter who option 3 is, unless you sit here and think if you offer DJ Durkin the job, he all of a sudden goes, I think I'm not going to take the head coaching job. So if you think his answer is no, then you'll get to option 3. If you think his answer was obviously I'll take the job. The thing I can't get around is, from what I understand, I don't know the extent of Cohen and Durkin's talks the last 2 weeks.
Right.
I know they talked initially, and Cohen was like, hey, what do you think about staying on as a DC? And he was like, I don't know, which is fair. Past that, I'm not sure the extent of Cohen and Durkin's conversations, and I don't necessarily think that's abnormal. I mean, Durkin's trying to keep a team together, keep a roster together, prepare for Vanderbilt, prepare for Mercer, and then try to win an Iron Bowl. So I can understand John Cohen not trying to be like, let's have some really deep talks about this stuff. I think he knows where he stands on trying to be the head coach. Durkin would say yes. So I don't really necessarily need a conversation about that, really. He needs to do his due diligence, I think, on other candidates. And then if it comes time to offer Durkin the job as a head coach, so be it. I think the question still remains, would he stay on as DC? From my knowledge, Alan, from what I understand, I know that Cohen has pushed Durkin on John Sumrall. I know that multiple times John Cohen is telling John, I'd like to keep DJ. I would really like to keep DJ. Like, he's really important. That stuff has been expressed to every candidate, including John Sumrall. I don't know how every other candidate's handled it. I know that John Sumrall has not been like, sounds great, man, anything you want. That's not been his reaction. His reaction's been, he sounds great. I don't want to make any promises.
Yep. I think that's fair.
And so that's kind of where it's been. So that's sort of the piece that I don't know, is how you approach keeping DJ, and is it something where that's Sumrall's first conversation? Like, the second he takes the job, his first call on Sunday is DJ. Where do we meet? I'm coming in town. Like, I want you, or like, let's meet. And then afterwards, hey, do you want to stay? Like, I think there's still some things that have to be figured out right there. I don't think that, well, I know that that's not done. Cohen definitely wants to keep Durkin, but there's been no agreement, to my knowledge, that Sumrall's like, absolutely.
Right, and I would go as far to say there's been no mandate to keep DJ Durkin. You know what I mean? Like, has it been strongly encouraged? Sure,
yeah.
But no mandate by any means. And what you're talking about, Justin, is just a very human side of this. These guys need to sit down and have a conversation to see if there's compatibility, right? Like, can they work together? This has to be a situation where both guys feel comfortable, and you can't just say, hey, man, you're staying because you're under contract and I don't care what you think, and so on and so forth. Like, people don't necessarily understand how closely these people have to work together. And so starting off, for any head coach, you don't want there to be friction or some situation where you're just not on the same page about certain things. So I do think that if John Sumrall is where it lands, that they have to have a conversation first, and then we'll go from there about DJ Durkin's retention on staff. I think
it can move quick.
Yeah, it can be
real quick.
But I think that conversation has to take place. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other side that people forget is, I go back to what I know at the beginning, which was Cohen had a conversation with Durkin, would you stay? And Durkin wasn't like, heck yeah, man, whoever you hire, I'm in. It's not, that's, from what I understand, that wasn't his reaction. His reaction was maybe. Maybe. So the other side is, I don't know what DJ Durkin thinks about John Sumrall.
Sure.
What if he goes, man, he sounds like a great coach. I think we differ on philosophy, and so I there's probably going to be a little bit of there probably could be some issues, or Sumrall's like, hey, I'll keep you, but I'd like to bring in, like, I have a great linebacker coach that I want to bring in, or I have a cornerback coach that I have a safety coach I really want to bring in, and Durkin's like, well, but my guy knows my defense.
Yep.
Like, you have those kind of conversations that go on. And then if that's going on, Durkin's also going, let me tell you something right now. If you don't think Durkin's going to have offers to be a big-time defensive coordinator other places, you're crazy. He will. So unless everything aligns with Auburn, let's say they have talks and Durkin's like, sounds good, and Cohen offers Durkin this restructured deal that pays him more, but then some other big time schools like, look, dude, you come here, we'll pay you that, and it's your show. You can bring every piece of your staff now to us. So like there's more pieces even on the Durkin side. I think Durkin's got leverage in this thing too when it comes to being a DC, whether it's staying at Auburn. He does like Auburn. His family does like Auburn. Yeah. They are building house. All that stuff's true. But there's the Durkin side as well.
No, I agree. So there's some ways to go. Do I see a path forward if John Sumrall is hired as next head coach, that DJ Durkin stays on staff? Yes, I think there's a path forward for that. But again, to say anything's already been agreed to, and some of the things that have been said, that's just a step too far for me. Again, We'll take it one piece at a time, one conversation at a time. And yes, there's some viability to it, but I don't think anything's done again. And you're right as far as DJ, and take it from this standpoint. DJ's been in charge of this team now for going on 4 weeks. He's been a head coach before. And so now I'm not saying he wouldn't be a good soldier and step back to the DC role and flourish. I just think sometimes that's easier said than done when you're making that kind of a transition. I mean, you and I are both old enough to remember 1998. Could you imagine Bill Oliver had staying on Tommy Tuberville's staff and how that would have worked? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think people need to recognize that is a pretty sizable challenge for somebody like DJ to be in charge of the team and now all of a sudden have to take a step backwards. It's not a situation that's not doable. He definitely can do it. The question is, does he want to? And I don't have a solid answer to that. I haven't spoken to DJ Durkin. I haven't spoken with somebody that knows Durkin that says 100% he's good with that. Like, I haven't had that conversation yet to make me feel as though like that he's just default ready to move back into the defensive coordinator world.
And here's another thing that I'll say, and I've forgotten if I included this in a post in the last 2 weeks or not. But I know the meeting that when Cohen went to New Orleans, I think it was on a Friday, to meet with Sumrall. From my understanding, one of the things he mentioned to Cohen then was we want to be fair to DJ. We want to let this play out. Like we owe him kind of whatever the terminology, whatever the verbiage is, basically something like we want to let him have a sort of a chance, or we want to sort of give him a shot to show what he can do and evaluate it. And from what I understand, Sumrall's response to that was, I understand. Like, I get it. I don't know much past that. It wasn't like, so it kind of makes it sound like we really like you, but we want to at least give this guy a couple weeks so we can evaluate him. We want to give him a shot. And Sumrall wasn't like, oh, excuse me. It was like, I get it. And I think that's probably his response, because Sumrall's like, well, I've got options. I mean, I can go there. Ole Miss could open up, and I could stay at Tulane. I don't, So that kind of leads into this question somebody asked, which is, does Saturday's outcome change anything about the Durkin situation? That has been a question I've asked myself a bunch, because if you're telling me that if they beat Alabama and you go, they won, he's our guy, versus if they lose by 14, you go, they lost by 14, he's not our guy. That makes no sense, because just a few weeks ago, John Cohen publicly said it's not on DJ to fix the offense. He said the expectations aren't that like he takes over and then now he's responsible if the offense doesn't take off. Like right. Cohen said that publicly. So if he's not responsible for the offense, then like if he doesn't beat number 10 Alabama at the end of the season, he's not worthy of being the head coach. But if he does, he is. We're going to do a 1-game test. Like we've seen that before in college football, where an interim gets hot, wins a couple games, you give him the job. Matt Luke at Ole Miss comes to mind, and you're like, this is not. You kind of have to give it to him. Okay, you did it, but then you sort of know. So that whole approach, doesn't make sense to me. And I saw where people linked Ross Dellinger talking about momentum, or he said something like, Durkin's still a candidate. And I've always said that, like from literally the beginning. I'm like, he's going to be a candidate through the end, and he still is operating like he can get the job. I don't understand if the outcome the only outcome I could see mattering is you go get beat 31-3. Okay. Like now I might go, all right, let's say Sumrall said no. Let's say that didn't work out. And then you lose the Iron Bowl by 20. You hiring Durkin then? A blowout would make it really hard. I don't know that a win means you have to hire him, but a blowout would be like, that'd be a tough one. That'd be a tough one because I don't know. That's again, it could be a good. And I just said the outcome shouldn't matter, but a blowout feels different than like competitive, but they lost. What do you think?
Well, there's the emotional swing to it, right? Where if there's a victory in an Iron Bowl, and again, I'm with you on the fact that it should always be body of work. It should never be about one game, right? Like a coaching decision should never be about one game. But I do believe that an Iron Bowl win with the fan reaction you're going to get from that and the groundswell of support would start to – it would be a resume builder for DJ. And I think it would swing some things. To your point on a blowout loss, if we're talking 14 to 20 points or more in an Iron Bowl, I think that also hurts DJ too. And is it right to do that? No. But I wouldn't be human if I didn't say there's an emotional element to some of these decisions that get made. I can remember you and I having the conversation before the season, and we were talking about what is the bottom line of what Hugh Freeze had to do to stay the head coach at Auburn. And I think 7-5 was where you and I landed. That was like the minimum of what he had to do.
He did not reach it.
He did not reach it. But if I told you that he did reach it and he still was blown out by Georgia and blown out by Alabama,
right?
There's a real emotional component that I think could have gotten him fired even with that outcome from a schedule.
Yeah.
So emotion does, as much as we try not for it to, I think it does play a factor in some of these decisions. Now, to John Cohen's credit, he's as analytical and methodical a human being as I've ever, researched and done information on and talked to people about. Like, I don't think the emotion stirs strong on him unless you're an official at the Georgia game. And maybe that's the only time I've seen him be emotional. But by and large, I think he is trying to take a very analytical approach to this, take emotion out of it, and make the best decision for Auburn. I think that's what he's attempting to do. I just don't know how that game, if it's a win or a blowout loss, how that doesn't factor into the decision making. Like I think that it will to a degree.
And it would also explain sort of why potentially they haven't said, John, we need a decision. I've kind of thought, I think it's entirely possible that John Cohen's looking at this going, we like John Sumrall a lot. I also really value DJ Durkin. And if they win the Iron Bowl, I'm good with Durkin. Or if Sumrall says no and I got to hire Durkin, I'm good with that. I sort of believe that to some degree. To me, worst case scenario would be something falls through with John Sumrall and then you get trounced in the Iron Bowl and you're like, okay, so do we still go with Durkin? Or was that so bad that we can't? That's sort of I feel like a worst case scenario where then you hire DJ the day after you get trounced, possibly, and you can maybe sell that. I think a lot of Auburn fans would go, that's not on him, but not all. It'd be an interesting situation. Let's just say that. I think that would be a really interesting dynamic.
No, and again, to me, it boils down to who are 2 and 3 on the list. Is DJ really the number 2 option right now, or is it Eli Drinkwitz, or is it a Clark? Yeah. Because if they're 2-3, then you're getting way down the road there before you start contemplating a DJ decision. I have not been able to confirm DJ's placement right now. Like I think he could be as high as 2. Like I think he could be as high as the number 2 candidate or the next most viable candidate. But I'm not ready, even though there's a lot of conjecture right now about where Eli Drinkwitz is going to land. Is he going to sign an extension? Is he going to land at Florida or LSU, where I know he's very high on the list, even though it seems likely that Lane Kiffin lands there. There's just a lot of dominoes, I think, that have yet to fall. But you've had 2 come off the board, and 2 pretty influential ones, guys that were both talked to by John Cohen, and Eric Morris to Oklahoma State, Alex Golesh to Arkansas. So those chess pieces have moved. But the others are kind of in limbo a little bit, and I think we're going to have a fuller picture as we move into Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Yeah, some people are commenting like, if DJ were the guy, would you already announce it? Maybe, but he's not. So I mean, he's not the guy right now. Like he's not. That's not the case, and so there's just nothing to announce. Like a great scenario would be you announce John Sumrall, and if he wants to go coach the playoffs, fine, and do and double dip, and then you retain if he retains DJ, and DJ just keeps doing what he's doing. Will Redmond's here. You got a bunch of the defensive staff that probably stays around. Some of the staff overall might stay around and try to work for their jobs, but kind of a perfect scenario potentially would be that. Well, perfect would be Sumrall immediately starts his job, but past that, Durkin stays and could sort of go through that. People are.
Is there a possible mystery candidate?
Is it possible? Sure. I just if there's a mystery candidate, I like outside of somebody that we quite literally have not talked about at all. That seems far fetched. I know some people were on the Lincoln Riley thing for a minute, and they had like very brief combos. But and Lincoln Riley might want out of USC, even though he says he does. Like he might want out, but that dude's going to want so much money that I'm not sure that's a Cohen hire. Like, oh, Lincoln Riley for $11 million a year, sign me up. That doesn't sound like a Cohen move to me, but.
No, and the number that was floated to me was higher than that. So, here's the thing on Lincoln Riley, and I think people need to realize this, that he's had a lot of conversations with different teams, I think, or at least that's kind of my sourcing, because USC doesn't have the leverage to fire him because it's a $70 million buyout or something of that nature, and they don't have that money. So he can talk to whoever he wants about creating a more advantageous position for himself. It doesn't mean he's going to leave USC. And I think people need to understand that.
Yeah.
Mystery candidate is Kenny Dillingham. Kenny's been discussed. Is there a world that Kenny Dillingham gets back in on this? I don't see it. As strong as he's been in the media, man, and I know coaches say all kinds of things. I know Nick Saban once said he was not going to be the next head coach at Alabama, and he definitely was the next head coach at Alabama. Like those things get said, right? But I don't know. I don't see Kenny Dillingham landing at Auburn right now, given everything that's going on.
Would Durkin's salary affect Sumrall's assistant pool since Cohen would want Durkin around? I'm not exactly what you're asking. I would say Cohen very much wants Durkin to be the defensive coordinator, whoever the head coach is. So given that, sorry, that's a helicopter flying over that is. Given the fact that Cohen wants Durkin to be the defensive coordinator, I would have to think that Cohen isn't going to say, hey, we really want to keep DJ and we're going to pay him over $2 million. And also, because that's what I want, you now have less to go work with for the rest of your staff. I feel like if Cohen's kind of pushing that, then he then has to compromise and go, now you still get to, I can't hamstring you on your staff because I want DJ and I'm going to pay him $2 million. Now you have less to work with. Go figure it out.
Right.
That doesn't seem, I feel like the assistant pool would be there for who they want. It's kind of like, hey, this is my guy, and then but I'm not going to hamstring you. You go get your guy. You can't pay him $2+ and then go, and that's kind of my call as the AD. But then also now you have less to work with on your end. I think he would pony up a little bit more for them to go figure out their staff.
Yeah, I don't think fair. I don't think coaching staff pool and front office staff pool is from a money standpoint or a monetary standpoint. It's going to be an issue. I think he's going to be able to go get pretty much who he wants. Obviously, that makes fiscal sense, but it's not. I don't think they're counting. You know what I mean? Like they're nickel and diming it by any means. They're not money balling it from a coaching staff standpoint. I think he'll have what Hugh had available to him, if not a little bit more.
Yeah. So people are asking about Sumrall coaching the playoffs. I mean, it would be good pub for Auburn, but it's not good enough to sacrifice potentially your roster. Like, if I'm sure there's a plan in place, but if Sumrall feels like he could do the job and also start to build relationships with people on the roster, Will Redmond, obviously, if he stays, he can handle a lot of that, and so maybe it's overblown. Maybe Sumrall could do his thing and hire a staff, and if you keep Will Redmond, maybe he can handle a lot of the roster retention and stuff. Maybe, hey, we can have conversations with. If you're, let's just like take Cam Coleman for instance. Do you think he's probably more concerned with who's my quarterback and who's my OC? Yeah. Like he can have a conversation with Sumrall, but it's probably more. All right, Ashton's coming back. It's a good start. Is Deuce coming back? Okay, he's not. Whatever. What's that look like? Who's our OC? Hey, here's our OC. Here's who I'm targeting. So just for an example, like it's not like Sumrall has got to be like having lunch with Cam Coleman every day at Auburn, like in order to retain him. So,
no, I think he would have to come in and do some initial work. I mean, you're talking about probably spending a week fully in Auburn, meeting with players.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
no, meeting with players, meeting with staff. Doing some things in Auburn, and then maybe he can go back to Tulane at that point and do the back and forth thing if he needs to, contingent on who he retains on staff, because the way you just painted that, I mean, I do think Will Redmond being there can handle the financial piece of it, right? Like they can hash out those conversations with a phone call from Sumrall also being involved as like, hey, this is what's going on. Yeah. I think DJ Durkin being there as a presence within the building, helping keep everything organized and structured, that could happen. Who your new strength coach is, if they come on board, starting to get them immersed into whatever that program is going to look like. And again, you're talking about schools letting out, kids are going to be going home. I think beyond those initial conversations that you have to have within that first week, things can be managed from a distance for a little while. Now, I don't know. I mean, if Tulane were to pull off the upset of all upsets in round one, and now you're talking getting into January the 2nd, that becomes a little bit more of a difficult conversation. But given what I've seen from Tulane, which has been impressive for the American Conference this year, I can't imagine them knocking off whoever the number 5 team is in the playoff.
Yeah, I think right now it's like Texas Tech or something.
That would be tough.
Somebody asked, is the holdup potentially Sumrall's reluctance to name Durkin as defensive coordinator? I would say no.
No,
I would say no. That's not causing a holdup. Again, we don't think that there's been a mandate other than Cohen strongly wants to keep him. But no, I can tell you, like, I think if Sumrall called Auburn right now and said, like, I'm in, give me everything, I'll sign everything, I think it would happen. But I'm not sure that Sumrall has explicitly asked for all that. Said, all right, put my name on the paper. We're all done here. I'm blocking everybody else's number. And Auburn hasn't mandated that quite yet. Somebody asked about what's your opinion on how the search has been conducted. This has been kind of an interesting topic because I've seen some people in the media in general say it's been great. It's a well-oiled machine. Like we'll see. I mean, I think it's probably been handled fine. I would say just because there hasn't been as many leaks or whatever, that doesn't. I mean, there have been leaks. I'm just not like running to tell you everything I've heard because it's not the full picture, and I can't maybe verify it on both ends or whatever. But I think it's probably been run. John Cohen's a smart guy. I think he's an analytical guy, so I think it's been run well. Like I think there's some smart people up there on how they're doing it, so I think it's been run well. But until it's done, then we can kind of reserve judgment. But I have no issues with how it's been run. But I also am not going to sit here and be like, it's the best, most well-run coaching search of all time. I don't know. I mean, I don't know every detail of that. I think it's been run fine. And yes, I haven't heard any real specific pushback from anybody on mistakes being made. I think it's been run fine. Look, at the end of the day, if you get the guy you want, then however you get there, I guess you can qualify it as being run well, I guess.
No, I mean, look, I'm with you. Yes, you judge the process, but part of the process is the final evaluation of who you land on, right? That's going to dictate more or less how a search was conducted. Now, has it been more professional than what we saw in 2020 after Gus was, fired, and then there was the whole Stop the Steal movement and multiple candidates that said no, or, they weren't able to come to a deal? Yes, it's been significantly better run than that. But that's a pretty low bar. We're being honest with you as far as coaching searches are concerned. But I do think there's been some professionalism. Yes, there have been some leaks, but nothing to the point that it feels as though like you're hearing from people that boosters have reached out to various candidates and they've offered the job to people and so on and so forth. I think John's done a good job of collecting a pool. I do think there's some consensus building that has gone on amongst people of influence about who the chief candidate is. And again, all my information leads it to this is John Sumrall right now, but nothing's done at this point. And so if it ends in John Sumrall, I think you would call the search a success. And if it ends in a fantastic finish of, people saying no and so on and so forth, then you'll say the search went pretty poorly. But your point about the fact that things are not done yet, and so you can't really judge how a search has been conducted, it's an incomplete grade for me at this point.
Yeah. And the fact that Durkin is continuing to operate like he has a chance to be the head coach, I think that speaks to conversations between him and Cohen that I don't think have taken place. And again, that's okay, because I think Cohen's letting him do his job. If you're John Cohen, let's say John Sumrall's your guy, and you went to DJ before Mercer and said, hey, we've decided to offer the job to John. He's going to take it. But we'd love for you to stay as DC. Well, now he's got to manage the team, try to beat Mercer in Alabama. Now he's also got to think about, does he want to stay on as defensive coordinator? And he's got to do all that while then trying to retain the roster and motivate. And there's some real risk. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's a business. There's some real risk in just telling DJ beforehand, you're not the guy, or you're not our first option, or whatever it is, and then say, all right, now do everything, keep everybody motivated, go beat Alabama. I mean, you're trying to win games and let him do his job and act like it's his job to, and then at the end, I think you can have that conversation. Unless it was him. If it was him, then yeah, you could have that conversation. Hey, you're our guy. You're going to be our guy. Keep doing what you're doing. You're our guy. That one you could have. But short of that, you can't really go out there and tell him he's not going to be the guy or give him anything else to think about. I think it's something that can happen afterwards if you hire somebody else. That can be sort of the first item, is to figure that out. Somebody said 0% chance Sumrall would pick Ole Miss over Auburn. He's not that dumb. I wouldn't say that. I mean, I'm not saying he would, but you talked about emotional stuff. I mean, he knows Keith Carter.
Yeah.
He has a relationship there. I don't know what Ole Miss would be willing to pay him. It's not like they can pay him more, but I mean, maybe they feel like they would need to pay him more. Maybe Auburn's like, well, I don't think we need to pay you 8, 9. We're going to pay you 7, and if you don't want it, we'll go with Durkin. There's a lot of things there. I wouldn't go that far, would you? There's no chance he'd go to Ole Miss.
No, I mean, I think people. It's hard with fans, right? There's a lot of passion involved. And so when you're evaluating programs, of course, Auburn, from a prestige standpoint, as far as winning SEC championships and national titles and everything else, there's a lot of pride amongst the Auburn fan base. So to imagine a coach picking another school besides the one that you're at, that's a difficult outcome to get to. what I would tell you is that his relationships that he built at Ole Miss the year that he was there, he does know people there. His family's lived there. They're comfortable there. I can see a world where he picks that. Now, the stuff that's been reported by people that are affiliated with Ole Miss as far as his preference, I don't have that information. If that's their reporting, that's their reporting. But I haven't heard that. I haven't talked to anybody that's told me that explicitly. And that's not me attacking them. They're reporting what they're hearing from their sourcing. And I'm telling you what I'm hearing from people that I've spoken to, and I haven't gotten to that point or heard that reciprocated to me at any level that there's a serious preference there of Ole Miss to Auburn.
Yeah. Somebody asked this question, NV Baseball 47. So confused why people that have a reputation to uphold saying this is, quote, basically done while you guys are implying we're not close to that. Okay, so like this is a good example of just not getting anything right. Okay, we have never said, quote, it's not close to being done. Literally, we're saying the opposite. I have literally said the opposite, and that is, I think the momentum is with Sumrall and Auburn. That's who that if you made me put money, that's who I would bet that is Auburn's next head coach. This kind of stuff is a perfect example. And by the way, so that's number one. We've never said that it's not close to being done. In fact, we're saying if you made both of us put like our actual money on it, we would say Sumrall's the guy. That's where the momentum's been from the beginning. That's the guy. Cohen has continued to have those conversations, deep conversations. Like that's the guy till it isn't. I agree with kind of that's where we're at. It's John Sumrall till it's not. And the part about confused why some people would say it's basically done while others not, well, because basically done isn't done.
Correct.
That's why.
Correct.
And my job is as a reporter is to like be accurate and I have people to be accountable for. We have a massive amount of subscribers. I have bosses in Nashville. Like I have people that I need to be accountable for. I can't just say whatever, be wrong, and then just move on. So I don't know how other people do it, or if they have to be accountable to anybody or want to be accountable. I don't know what anybody else does or how they go about their business. But like for us, I can't just say it's him, and then if it's not, like, well, just kidding. I mean, it's like I can't do that stuff. So number one, basically done isn't done. So anybody that's told you it's basically done, you should go, okay, so it's not done then, right? And they go, oh, so, and then we're kind of saying similar things. Basically done is not done. So like, let's be careful with our words. And we're not saying it's not close to that. We've never said anything like that. Like, so that's just a good example of something getting lost in translation. And there's way too many, I think, voices now that are da-da-da-da-da-da. So if you want to take everybody's opinion in, go for it. That's a lot of words. That's a lot of opinions. And I would just listen to the words that people say if you're trying to figure out what's going on or what people think. Don't assume that you think they know what they're talking about, and don't listen to what they say and insert your own words in. Like there's just a lot of that going on that just annoys me, honestly. Rant over, Alan. Rant over.
You're good. But at the end of the day, to answer your question, no. Are we saying he's the leading candidate? Yes. Are we saying that betting odds today? Yes. I would favor John Sumrall being the next head coach. Is there anything signed? No. Not. Like I'm not. And I'm not saying that there's something that couldn't change between now and then. I think that's the difference from where Justin and I are at as opposed to maybe other people that are taking it a step further than we're prepared to
go. Yeah. Cone cannot wait till Saturday night or Sunday morning to announce the coach. If I was him, I'd have a coach go ahead and announce it Friday. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the Iron Bowl is such a big deal that I announcing something before you certainly could take some luster away from the game. If it's not DJ, then what are you doing? Can you imagine announcing somebody that's not DJ Durkin before the Iron Bowl? And think about all those players on defense that love DJ. Think about some of the guys that are on offense that like DJ. If you announced the coach and it wasn't DJ, and then you're like, all right, now everybody stay focused over here. We got Alabama to play. We got the Iron Bowl.
Right.
Like that's a scenario that can't that can't happen. You got to let the season play out, be fair to the kids, be fair to the staff, and then you announce it the next day. Like I like Oklahoma State's they got nothing going on over there. Announce that whenever you want because nobody cares. Like announce that they announced it, right? Arkansas, that's leaking out. We've been doing the show. I don't know if there's going to be an actual announcement there, but their season's tanked anyway. Like I don't know. I guess Auburn's kind of is too. I don't know if Arkansas will have an official announcement, but I don't like the idea of doing it before.
Well, Auburn still. I mean, look, you win the Iron Bowl. That's bowl game eligibility. And I know people in this chat are like, "Game, what are we talking about?" But to the people within that building, I think that matters some. I think the Iron Bowl matters to the players within that building. And I do know, like, I have talked to people about how things leaked out last time with Hugh Freeze on the day of the Iron Bowl, and that was something that the administration didn't love, right? Like they felt like that kind of took some of the shine off the game. And I think they would prefer for that to come out after, even if it's Saturday, for it to be something that happened after, not during or before the game.
We haven't even talked about that a lot, and I haven't even seen a lot of conversation on the board about that, honestly, is a bowl game.
Yeah.
How does that – and there's probably – we just got more stuff to cover. We'll just cross the bridge when we get there if Auburn makes the bowl game. But that I think is an interesting dynamic of – okay, so now we're preparing for a bowl game while also trying to retain a roster, while also a coach is trying to put together a staff who remains on staff to even coach these kids, who's like, I'm out anyway. I'm going to the portal, so I'm not playing in the bowl game. That's like a whole scenario that's not even worth talking about at the moment. But that will be very interesting, and if it happens. So. Could Auburn potentially put a deadline? Yeah, they got to know. Somebody asked, when's the last time I got concrete intel? I mean, last night. Like, I get concrete intel, but I'm not going to just run immediately to you and just say it because it's not the full picture. It's like I know a piece of information. Okay, right. What does it mean? What does that mean? Okay, well, can I confirm something on the other end? I got a piece of information last night that's interesting, but it's nothing that would change I don't think it's anything that would change what we've talked about. But I just don't really know what it means, big picture, where it might go, where it might lead, and so it's just a piece of information. Like that's all it is. I do not have a gag order. There's no gag order. Listen, I don't know, man. Like I try to be as transparent as I can. I think I go too far sometimes in trying to give information because I want our people to know what's going on to the best that I can provide that. So if you ever think I've got a gag order, I mean, I don't. I want to be able to tell you what's going on, what I think to be true. For sure. I don't do the gag order stuff. I don't like to play that game. Hey, what about Sumrall being successful? Somebody says, do you feel like he'll be successful? I mean, the consensus, I guess, is yes. But my whole view on this is the coaching stuff has been I've sort of taken a step back from. I'm not guaranteeing anything. I've seen too many hires that you go, oh, pretty good hire, looks good. And then they don't work out for whatever reason. I will say, here's my stance. My stance would be this: I think Auburn is in as good a position as they've been in a long time,
right? To
get the right guy and win. I think there's a lot of support from the right people. I think that there's some pretty good alignment. I think there's some guys in there that understand how important NIL is going to be. They're trying to do everything they can to stoke that fire.
Right.
I think Auburn, the talent's not bad. You might lose some guys in the portal, but there's a foundation there. Anyway, the SEC is good in general, but I think Auburn's in a pretty good spot to bounce back immediately, to win next year. And Cohen wants to win next year. Understand, I'll give John Cohen credit. He's told these candidates, hey, this isn't rebuilding, just so you understand the expectations. This isn't come in and you get a couple years and we got to build the roster. And he's no, we're winning now. There's no losing. Our people are tired of that. And so I'll give him credit. He's told candidates, like, the expectation is to win now.
Yeah. Well, and they've got the pieces to win now, with the exception of you've got to figure out what you're going to do at quarterback. I mean, I think that's the biggest piece that they've got to figure out. Offensive line, there's some work that needs to be done there. But you've got pieces. I mean, if anybody saw what Deuce was on Saturday, and yes, it's an FCS opponent, and I think you have to keep that in perspective. But a lot of upside there. Ashton Daniels has shown you some confident play, but you're a few pieces away from being, a 9-win team next year. You're not a whole roster away, which is where it was when Hugh Freeze took over the program in the way that it was left underneath Brian Harsin. So it's a very different situation. And then again, I think I want to agree with you on giving John Cohen credit of letting people understand that what the expectation is from day one, because Auburn fans have been through a lot in the last 5 years. And I think he realizes this is a situation that's becoming untenable to a degree because Auburn is just – it's teetered in mediocrity for 5 years now. Like since they parted ways with Gus, and even maybe that last season, you can claim that was mediocre. I might argue that it was a touch above that because going 6-4 against a 10-game SEC schedule was significantly better than anything we've seen since then.
NH3425AU with the super chat. He says, I get the vibe Sumrall's the next head coach, but is it Durkin then Lee if for some reason Sumrall doesn't accept it? We talked about this a little bit earlier. I don't know for sure. I would lean Durkin, but I don't know 1,000% if it's not Sumrall, it will then for sure be Durkin. I can't say that with 1,000%. I would lean that way. I think Durkin has got the support from the right people, and Cohen understands keeping the roster together. Durkin would give you the best shot at that. I think if Durkin has a good enough plan of, hey, make me head coach, and here's what our defense will look like, if that's good with Cohen, then I think he'd have a great shot. I think that's Cohen's concern is, if I promote you, who's our DC? Because that side of the ball we seem to have figured out. And if I promote you, is there a chance now that we don't have any side of the ball figured out? And so, I think that's how he's looking at it. We've got defense figured out. As you as the defensive coordinator, I trust that side of the ball. And if you're head coach, are we still good on defense? That his concern. So if Durkin sells that, then I would say he's option 2.
I will say this on Clark Lee. The feedback I got was that his interview was exceptional. That he was somebody that John Cohen was very impressed with. So I will confirm that. Again, I'm with you. For me, it gets murky behind Sumrall as far as the placement of candidates. And I think Drinkwitz is still a factor. Now, he may announce an extension tomorrow at Mizzou.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that's being reported, right? That's sort of in the works at the moment.
Yeah. But my last information on that was he wasn't completely out of the picture either.
How nice is that guy? Wow. How nice is that? Yeah. So great. Bald is a requirement to be involved. A lot of Iron Ball talk. Any thoughts on the Iron Ball? You got hard convictions about how this thing's going to go?
I don't. I think Auburn's going to be competitive. I think this is, if you look back at 2021 and 2023, the rosters on those teams that played in those games don't compare to what Auburn has on its roster right now. It's a completely different story, and those games both went to – one went to overtime, one lost on 4th and 32 or whatever it was. You know what I mean? So they took Alabama to the brink. I think this team is capable of playing with Alabama in this game and potentially winning this game. Because of the matchups, I think the defensive line or the front seven in general is going to be able to neutralize Alabama's running game. I think they're going to be able to make Alabama one-dimensional. The major matchup that I have to watch is how does Ty Simpson – how did Ty Simpson and the Alabama's wide receiver core fare against Auburn's secondary? because they have been able to hit explosives on everybody. If they're able to get that against Auburn, it's going to be a tough night. If Auburn can keep the top on the coverage and keep things in front of them and make Alabama earn it when they get down to the red zone, I think you can keep that score down to the point that Auburn's going to be able to score enough to stay in this game, if not win this game. Because Derek Nix seems to, for whatever reason, now look, Vanderbilt's defense and Mercer's defense are a whole world's difference from what they're going to see against Alabama. Kane Womack and that group are significantly better than anybody from a personnel standpoint they faced since Derek took over. But I will be eager to see what they do in that game offensively as far as what they do to make Ashton comfortable quickly. Can they stay in tempo? Can they keep the RPO game going and the play action game going that they've been able to? And can they establish the run? Because I think that's the biggest thing for Auburn is if they can establish the run, everything else works off of that.
Yeah. I think it'd be a good game. I do have a little bit of concern with Auburn's offense only because I think it's more my cynicism at times, which is they've been really bad all year, and so they've had one good game. I don't count Mercer.
Fair.
And so can they do it again against Alabama? Like they did against Vanderbilt, good. Alabama's different, and can they do it again? And can Ashton play at that level again? And all that good stuff. So, like, I definitely think Derek Nix and the tempo, going back to the tempo a little bit, will help. Sort of sticking to a more cohesive game plan on Saturdays so the guys can have some confidence in what they're doing will help. But, I'm not like watching it. I'm not like watching Vanderbilt Mercer and like Auburn's offense is back. I mean, I think that's too far. So it's just a little bit of reservations on will they kind of stay hot, if you will. And then I did love Auburn's secondary against Vanderbilt. Like the bend but don't break stuff's good, but you can't give up explosive touchdowns. That's not going to happen. So if they can kind of get back to a little bit of a bend, but don't break, then I think they'll stay in the game, and I think Auburn can stay in the game that way. So I think it's competitive as well. But could I see a world where Alabama wins this game 27-10? Yeah, I could. I don't think it's likely, but I'm atmosphere will be great. Get off to a good start. Want to see a good start from Ashton. Alabama's going to be whatever we can do to stop Cam. Hey, these back shoulders, this stuff to Cam, how do we you can't take away a back shoulder. If I want to just toss it out there and he's going to turn around and catch it one-handed, there's no guarding that. So it's an interesting game. It'll be and the motivation factor. Like as much as it's Auburn is playing for bowl eligibility and to ruin Auburn and to ruin the season and like Alabama's like, we have to win to go in the playoffs. We have to win to make the playoffs. Like you better match that if you're Auburn. And I know it's a rivalry game. I think they will, but just they're looking at this like it's their season the same way. I think both teams are like, this will make our season. This will make our season.
For sure. And you talk about coaching rumors. I don't think there's much by the way of legs to the Kevin DeVore to Penn State thing, but let him lose the Iron Bowl.
Did you just say he's going to Penn State? Whoa.
Yes,
Alabama report.
Alabama is a feeder school for Penn State now. No, I don't think that has legs, but I think lose that game, it might grow legs. It might grow legs in a hurry because his seat's going to get real uncomfortable in Tuscaloosa to miss the playoffs 2 years in a row with that kind of a roster.
Yeah.
And especially losing to your rival that way. So I'm with you on the fact that Alabama has a lot at stake. And I think they kind of got their – if you could afford a bump in the road, they had that against Oklahoma. So they'll be dialed in for Auburn. There won't be a chance that they're overlooking this game or thinking that they're just going to come in and roll Auburn or anything of that nature. They're going to have to play their best game to beat Auburn, and I think they'll probably be prepared to play that best game. We'll just see, because this is the interesting part to me is that DJ seems to have, at least offensively speaking, this team is playing its best brand of ball right now that it's played all year. Can they continue to get better, which is a difficult thing to do, especially against Alabama?
Yeah. Let's not talk about the Michigan game. Will they beat St. John's? Will Auburn beat St. John's tonight? I don't know. And St. John's is obviously really good. And so I kind of lean no, but I'm curious more about the response. About Auburn after that, because I said it on the board. I don't. I mean, they got bludgeoned against Michigan, but I for sure saw some of these games coming. I mean, people I would talk to offline or just in real life, I'm like, listen, there's going to be some blowouts in non-conference games, and I'm not even that worried about it. I actually think they need some of it. There's a bunch of guys that have never even played D1 basketball until this year, either freshman, Euro transfer, Freeman. So, like, they need to be thrown into the fire. And so, like, the Michigan game's not even that concerning to me. They need some of that because the SEC is a freaking gauntlet. And they need to understand Emeka or Jovic or Freeman or Bashir or Magwood or Sebastian, whatever. They need to understand what it's going to take. And by the way, you're not last year's Auburn team. That's they're last year's team. You aren't that. You don't get to put the jersey on and be a Final Four team. You got to go into the fire and prove it and earn it. And so, like, I think that's part of the process. So I'm not overly concerned with the outcome. I think some of the JJ. I think some of the
JG.
Yeah, I think some of this is okay. Not saying you want to go get beat. We don't need many more 30-point losses, but the response will tell me a lot. Like the way they fought against Houston, the way they, buckled down against Oregon. Come back against St. John's and show me. That's exactly what Steven's looking for. He's looking for a response, and come show me a response tonight, even in a loss, and I'll be encouraged.
No, I don't disagree. I think you just need to see a better product, right? Like you need to see some fight. You need to see some fortitude from this group. Defensively, do you come to play? Because I think that's the biggest thing with me is I felt like defensively they are not the team that Auburn has been the last 2 years. Like they are going to have to pick it up on that end. And yes, they're going to give up size to everybody they play. Okay, minus some of this lower level competition. Auburn's not a very deep team in the front court, but they got guys that can get it done. And so how they defend, can they shoot it at a more efficient clip? Because I felt like there were some empty possessions that really kind of hurt them in the game. But you're right about the getting exposed part, Hope. I think when you've got a young team or you've got a team that's not necessarily connected in the way that you want, because they just haven't played together. People forget this is the 6th game I think this team has played all year. And besides Tahad, they don't have anybody else that knew the system before this summer. So to put a team together like that, you're going to have bumps in the road. You're going to have unconnected moments where they're not playing their best brand of basketball. But can you get to the point that you're seeing that fortitude, that drive, that willingness to come back from a tough defeat after getting basically kicked in the teeth? Because that's what happened. You got kicked in the teeth. Now how are you going to respond? And that's the biggest part, man, of having cultural DNA within your program. Is this going to be a continuation of what Bruce built, or is this team going to kind of cave when they hit some adversity? And my guess is it's going to be a continuation of what was built. And they're going to bounce back. I think they're going to respond against St. John's. I wouldn't predict a win, but I think you're going to see a much more competitive team in that game than what you saw against Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan's really good. It's a tough matchup anyway. Auburn, we know on the front line in some games it's going to be a tough matchup. Michigan's one of them. Florida's going to be one of them. Woof.
Woof. Yeah, it's going to be rough.
You can't. This is why some of this is good. They need to fully understand what their limitations are and understand how much harder they're going to have to play.
Yes.
How much more focus it's going to take when we play Michigan or whatever. Like, guys, we have to be dogs in this game. Tonight, St. John's, like, dogs. Like, we're not running out there and shooting threes and, like, winning against the better teams. There's got to be it's not like Denver Jones brought that, and Dylan brought that, and Chad brought that, outside of his antics. Miles Kelly was a dog. Like there was some Chris Moore, they brought some intensity. Those guys brought some intensity to their to their game. So you need that. What else? Did we cover everything? I think we covered everything. I don't know is Alan frozen?
No.
There he is.
I got
I
it.
think we covered everything. I think we covered everything. I don't see any more coaching questions that have popped up. So like the gist is we're both on board that it's Sumrall till it's not.
Yep.
We're both on board saying that we've heard nothing concrete to say something is quote unquote done, but we both would say it's Sumrall till it's not. We both think that DJ Durkin still has a chance to be the head coach.
Yep.
What those circumstances are, we're not quite sure, and so we'll sort of wait and see. Maybe something will leak out over these next few days, or maybe it doesn't. I mean, I could easily see something leaking out Saturday, maybe not Friday, but day of.
Yeah,
I could see something leaking out because day of, you're it's game day. So at that point, you're not. If something leaks, you're not killing the team's preparation unless you leak it like in the morning, and then it's all the kids are on their phone all day or something. But I could see something leaking out Saturday potentially.
Sure.
Maybe it doesn't.
Yeah, if it leaks out on a Pete Thamel report on ESPN's Game Day, then that's probably not what you wanted. But
yeah,
if it's in the middle of the game or if it's right before kick or something like that, yes, I think that's fair.
And he asked how confident. I'm fairly confident. I mean, I have good reason to believe that Sumrall has in some way voiced to Auburn, "I'm your guy."
Yes.
But past that, signed, sealed, delivered, no. But I have very good reason to believe that in some way he's told them, I think we're in a good place. We kind of have an understanding. But it's not like a signed, can't go back, all that stuff. So like I would say we're both confident, fairly confident it will be him as of right this second, but that's not a done deal, and that doesn't mean something can't change. That's what that means.
Fair enough.
He's just being truthful. All right, you want to get out of here?
Yeah, I think we can call it.
All right. Let's roll. Zach's got to go, I know. Appreciate everybody joining us. Shanker and I are going to come back. We're going to record tomorrow for the Friday forecast. So that'll be up Friday morning with Shanker and I. We'll record that. Talk nothing but Iron Bowl with John Samuel Shanker. So we'll do that. And then we got basketball, and then it'll kind of be chill Thursday and Friday news-wise unless something leaks. And then we'll get into Iron Bowl, maybe announcement. Who knows what will happen after the Iron Bowl. Buckle up, I would say. All right, appreciate y'all. Go to auburnsports.com, subscribe, turn on notifications, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll see you guys next time.